Alright guys, welcome back to the rebuild. I haven't fully decided a name on this car yet. Kind of thinking the Bloody Mary, but haven't fully decided. I'll be thinking of names. I'm pretty sure my wife will help me in that category. Anyways, I decided to go with not rebuilding the transmission. I will make an episode with that when I need to replace the gear lube inside the transmission. So for this episode, we are going to connect the rear A-arms, have those going the opposite way, the axle carriers, bushings for the axle carriers, upper links, and rear shock tower. Alright, so let's get to it. First off, we're going to get to the axle carriers. We're going to be installing the middle and middle bushings into our axle carriers, just like the same as the front with the turn knuckles. You don't fit them in there nice and smooth, like so. Same on the back side. Slide it in there nice and slow. Make sure it's nice and smooth. You can do the same on the other side. Next, we're going to be installing the axle carriers into the rear A-arms. Now on the axle carriers there is two holes, one for a lower stance and one for a higher stance. We're going to go and use the upper one for a higher stance. So you'll need a small steel push pin, your A-arm, and then you're going to want to line up your axle carrier in the upper hole or the lower hole, whichever one you want to use in your climate. And then you're just going to want to not force it, you're just going to want to make sure everything is lined up while slowly pushing, and it'll slide together like so. Then you want to take your flathead and you're going to want to just snug it. You don't need to torque it, you just want to snug it. Make sure it moves nice and freely. Do the same on the other side. Next, what we're going to do is, while the A-arms are off, we're going to install the little circle, I guess, shock holder screw on the bottom A-arms. You'll see what I'm talking about. The shock should bolt on there. Now with my A-arm, rear A-arms, there's three holes. Can't really see it this well. There's a lower one. Even though my wheels are too wide, even though everything is stock, I can't use this one because my shock will rub on my tire. So this is the lowest one I can go, but I'm going to run the third one for more stiffer shock give. So you just line it in there with your fingers, make sure it gets started. You don't want to strip it because it's just plastic. Once it's stripped, it's stripped. Unless you want to move to a bigger screw, you can do it that way. Then you want to take your flathead screwdriver and just twist it in there, but you want a little bit sticking out so it connects and slides into your shock hoop a whole lot nicer. But you don't want to stick it too far out or you'll just end up bending it. So I just like leave it maybe a full turn, maybe 2 full turns from the back of the A-arm. Now we're going to do the other side. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to install the links on the rear. We are going to do this while it is off of the transmission, just to make it a little bit easier on ourselves. So we're going to need a shoulder screw, and we're going to need a little washer. Then we're going to repeat just like we did on the upper links, and if I believe right, episode 2. You can look back and you can figure out yourselves, or if I look back while installing them, I will be gladly leaving a link in the description box, or at least telling you what episode you guys can go and look into. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to mount the other side of the links to the rear shock tower. Now, if you can see on mine, there is two holes, one for a lower stance and again one for a stiffer stance, taller stance. We're going to use the bottom for a taller stance. So for this, you're going to need the same as the other side, two shoulder screws and two of those little washers. Now what we have to do is install the whole unit into the upper transmission mount. But before you do so, because of the way that we are setting up our unit, we are going to want to install one end of the transmission or drive line, set it aside for this end, but install the other side, which you can see that there is a small grub screw, into the differential unit of the transmission gearbox. Just like so, we have installed the ends onto the drive or transmission gearbox. Now we're going to want to install the whole upper unit onto the bottom of the gearbox. So we went ahead and we got the rear A-arm unit and upper shock tower bolted to the transmission case. You need 2 pin screws that come in right here to hold the A-arms into the side blocks of the transmission unit. Went ahead and we put the other driveline unit in, and then we also took 2 screws and we screwed on the back side of the shock tower. I don't know if you can see the screws here and 1 screw here. So now this is one full unit. Next, we are going to install our rear shocks onto the rear unit. After you have your shocks mounted on your rear unit, now your rear unit is ready to install into your lower chassis plate. For this, you're going to need 6 screws, but I only have 4. I have the 4 bigger ones for the bottom side, and you're going to need 2 of the longer screws that come in the upper shock tower, like so. I like to slide these ones in beforehand because they're a little easier to get into the upper unit that way. Wait, no, that's actually the back unit, because we are going to flip it upside down and do the rear screws first. Once you have that complete, by doing your 6 screws, you got 4 down here and 2 right here. These 2 I do not have, so I am not currently putting those in, but these 4, for how much power I have currently, is perfectly fine. Now we are going to install our rear tires exactly how we installed the front one. So if you want to see those, please go and watch that video and you'll understand how to put on these pin driven wheels.